Thank you, Chairperson McDuffie, for your leadership on this issue and for your tireless advocacy on behalf of the rights and well-being of Black Washingtonians and for racial equity in our city as a general matter. DC Justice Lab strongly supports this measure. Although you typically hear from us on bills that are pending before the Committee on the Judiciary and Public Safety, we're here today because the gross racial wealth gap is making our neighborhoods less safe. More than 15% of district residents live below the poverty line. Said another way, more than 15% of people in this city make less than $13,000 a year in a place where you need at least $50,000 to meet basic human needs. And unlike any state or major city in the US, this is the only place where none of the people living in poverty are white. None. There are no white communities or white neighborhoods here that are living under those conditions. There are some white neighborhoods in DC where people live an average of 15 years longer than people living in Black neighborhoods. That's the impact of the wealth disparity in real human terms. According to the New York Times, if the mortality rates for Black Americans were equal to white Americans over the course of the 20th century, there would be 8.8 million more Black Americans today. Much like other legislation you've championed, this measure is bold, but not thoughtless or outlandish, as some people might characterize boldness. There's a difference between something being historic and something being radical. This measure is long overdue. We've heard some excellent recommendations for how to improve the bill today. We asked the committee to consider providing more funding for staffing the task force, consistent with the recommendations you heard from students Izzy Gatling and Zoe Cruz from the University of California, Washington program. The task force will need the help of data scientists, economists, historians, and constitutional law scholars. We also asked that the council consider funding the task force by reallocating dollars from those DC agencies that are continuing to inflict state-sanctioned violence on our city's Black residents, instead of through a tax burden shared equally by the rich and poor alike. Lastly, I'd like to note that one of the key elements of reparations is stopping the harm that we've talked about today and assuring that it will not recur. And as this committee considers this measure to redress historic inequality, we have bills pending in other committees that perpetuate it. It is ideologically inconsistent, if not intellectually dishonest, for council members to claim to understand the need for reparations and then turn around and endorse legislation that criminalizes people for who they are, for what they wear, or how much money they have. We invite those council members to consider how their conduct encourages or discourages state violence and how it affects the racial wealth gap. There are some who say we are free but not yet equal, but in this city, far too many of us are not yet free. Thank you.